It's 50 Commodore 16 games reviewed in under 10 minutes. Welcome to ChinnyVision, the YouTube channel that reviews games using the real hardware. Welcome to you if you're a new viewer, and hello again if you watch us every week. Today I'm aiming to review 50 Commodore 16 games in under 10 minutes. The games are selected at random, and just to let you know, all the games today are going to be running on my Commodore Plus 4, but they are all Commodore 16 games. Essentially, a Plus 4 is a Commodore 16, but with 64K of RAM and 4 built-in applications. Right, let's do this. Garden-based platformer? Well, that's Spiky Harold, isn't it? With its large attractive sprites, the unremarkable game on other system rather stands out on the Commodore 16. Tutti Frutti is a Sean Southern game, and boy, that's a name you're going to hear a lot today. It's Mr. Do with a twist and is immensely playable. Rock-hard vertical shooting action from Codemasters. Terra Cognita is one of their few C16 releases. Cuthbert is the forgotten franchise from the dawn of home computing. Here he stars in a compelling, if easy, jetpack clone. It is Set Willy, although it is massively cut down. A curiosity for some new screens had served to block off parts of the original map, but other than that, no reason to play this at all over the other systems. Elite were never ones to shy away from a sequel. Airwolf 2 is a below-par right-to-left shoot-'em-up. And why do so many C16 games run right-to-left anyway? Frantic and colourful, Berks is a real arcade treat on the 16 and one you'll keep coming back to. Dingbat is a jetpack-style game from Sean Southern. Not one of his better efforts, I'm afraid. Supergran was a 1980s kids TV show, and Tynesoft take what was already an appalling game and port it to the C16 with all the finesse of a brick to the face. Flickering and vanishing sprites, controls that don't respond, and a game that was already rubbish even before the C16 coder got their hands on it. Ikari Warriors attempts to capture some of the spirit of the arcade, but frankly, if you want to play this on a home micro, go for the Amstrad version instead. You can't help but think Big Mac is a Manic Miner clone, but in fact it's more colourful, busier, and generally more fun. The inclusion of an air meter is somewhat cheeky though. T. Kelly wrote Big Mac, and he also wrote Squirm, another Mastertronic 199 game. The game looks very basic, but it's frantic and gets really fast. Good fun. Remarkable that Thrust makes it to the C16. Sadly, it's just a bit too slow and flickery compared to the larger systems. It's obvious what Killapede is, but it's a really good implementation put out by players on budget. Robo Knight is an unusual release from Americania, US Gold's budget label, who usually restricted themselves to re-releases. However, they did put out a few unique C16 games, and this is an original C16 platformer that looks and plays really well. If you already have Formula 1 Simulator, then this Mastertronic game is just a reskin of that but with bikes. Cops and Robbers is a simplistic but charming top-down budget game from Atlantis. Evade the police and steal the diamonds. Have a moral panic at being one of the first games where you get to shoot the police. Zap gave the 64 version just 9%, but I think this C16 version is rather good. Bubbler is a single-screen arcade game that looks amazing. Grow your bubble by eating other bubbles and avoid the hazards. It's hard to describe, but enormous fun, and look at all that colour. Cuthbert in the Caller is a generic maze game where you collect objects and avoid baddies. There's so many better games in this genre you can choose from. The smash hit Codemasters game BMX Simulator is remarkably squeezed onto the C16, complete with a 2-player mode. Speaking of squeezed onto the C16, Manic Miner also comes across to the platform. A few missing screens and baddies swapped over to save memory, but it plays authentically, if a little slow. A must-play game from Llamasoft, Matrix is everything you'd expect from a Jeff Minter game. Munch It is a Pac-Man clone from Tynesoft with their usual expertise and flair. Rubbish. None of the glamour of Las Vegas on your C16. I have issues with Root Machine games being available to kids. The game's polished but ultimately pointless. It's a cut-down version of Frank Bruno's boxing on the C64. All the faults and problems of the original 64 version on your C16. Zolyx is a game that looks deceptively simple but is oh so addictive. There's no other game where you'll have so much fun shuttling a single pixel around the screen. Superb version. Thanks for watching so far. ChinnyVision is the YouTube channel that plays games on real hardware. If you like this kind of thing, check out the channel. Support us by clicking on subscribe and enabling the bell thing and all that stuff. And if you really like the channel, we have a Patreon feed that you can subscribe to from just $1 a month that gets exclusives and previews. All the kind people who support are scrolling past on the right hand side there. And we also have ChinnyVision pens if you want to buy one of those from the website as well, ChinnyVision.com. Right, back to the games. Commando is a horrible flick screen port of the arcade classic. Ikari Warriors, with all its shortcomings, is better in every way. Fly into the danger zone with this Codemasters budget effort. Simplistic shoot 'em up. Driving a train, changing points and shunting wagons has never been so much fun as in this arcade puzzler from Commodore. You'll choose to play this. No, it's not that Pacmania. This is a Pac-Man clone from Mr. Chip and Sean Southern that plays well but has an odd teleport system to try and escape the ghosts. No Lewis Collins or Rory McGrath, come to that. Who Dares Wins 2 is yet another Commando clone. It's better than C16 Commando, but so is driving a nail through your foot. Gear Kung Fu is an arcade classic. It makes it to the C16, but only just. It's absurdly easy. Another Mr. Chip Sean Southern game. Well, Trailblazer started life not on the 64 as many people think, but the C16. You'll need lightning fast reactions to get anywhere in this, but it's regarded as a stone cold classic. C64 Bomb Jack wasn't much cop, and C16 Bomb Jack is even worse. Like the 64, the screen is too cramped, and the smooth sprite movement of the 64 is naturally enough not there. The game feels clunky and too hard to handle. The static screenshots might look fine on the box, but this one is best avoided. A remarkably clever and unique game that splits the screen into three. You play one section at a time as a shoot 'em up collecting orbs. It's great. Another classic 8-bit platformer makes it to the C16. It's cut down, but Monty on the Run is still a great offer. Gunslinger might have been a half-decent game if it had any targeting system at all. Tynesoft. Simplistic racing game akin to those Game & Watch knockoffs from Grandstand. Big colourful graphics though, but it get bored rather quickly. Autozone is a curious side-scrolling game from players almost like Moon Patrol, but without the shooting. Quick reactions are needed or you'll fall to your death. Bounder is another one of Gremlin's hits ported to the C16. It's still rock hard. One of the few flight games on the 16. ACs you take on simplistic air-to-air combat. Green Beret is a tough game on any system, but the C16 version is absurd. It's tough because it's bad. Rubbish graphics, repeated deaths, and your character making obscene hand gestures. Risible, appalling, avoid. Formula 1 Simulator is yet another Mr. Chip game. They must have been knocking these things out every 2 weeks. As long as you don't have speed cam, which is essentially the same game, there's limited fun to be had here. Hardly a simulator though, is it? Gunslinger owes a lot to Mr. Do and many other arcade games of the era. Not a patch on Tutti Frutti, or the CPC or 64 versions of Guzzler, come to that. Well, at least you can play Paperboy on the C16, but this is rather cut down. Think of it as Paperboy Light, especially because it misses out on the BMX course section at the end of each level. Still, it's nowhere near as bad as the BBC Micro version. Prospector Pete sees you digging for treasure while the mine slowly floods. You have to keep the water at bay with your excavations whilst avoiding the baddies and setting off dynamite. It owes a little to Dig Dug, but but I find it rather splendid. Tom Thumb runs in 16K. 16K! It's a massive exploration game with charm, character and polish. The play area is over 74 screens in size, and every area is packed with surprises. How do you make all this happen in just 16K? Bizarre Minter-like shoot-em-up that makes it look like your TED chip is going wrong. Once you get your head round it, and if your eyes can stand it, there's something a bit special here. Born from an egg on a mountain top, an average shoot-em-up that never seems to stop. It's Saboteur, but really small. The gameplay is kind of there, but the graphics aren't. And it's a pain positioning yourself over objects. After Tom Thumb, you feel like you've been shortchanged. Video Meanies is a rubbish name that distracts from some high-res budget action from T. Kelly. Stop the clock! Well, we made it. That's a surprise to me, frankly, because I really didn't think I would, because I felt that these games needed more explaining and therefore it's going to be very, very tight, but we did it. I hope that's given you some ideas of games to play on your C16 and Plus 4. It's a very interesting system with lots of, yeah, they're simplistic games, but a load of them are really, really playable. Thanks for tuning into ChinnyVision. We're out every Thursday evening with occasional bonus videos on Sundays as well. Please remember to like and subscribe and all that stuff because we're a small channel and we really need your help. Thanks for watching.